Some places have histories, some places have secrets, and some should have never been built. Tonight, we bring you the terrifying story of a staircase that doesn't lead anywhere, but people keep disappearing at the top. Stay until the end, but be warned, some steps should never be climbed. The house that felt wrong. When Julian and his wife Mara moved into the old house in 2016, they thought they had found a dream home. It was spacious, cheap, and tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. But from the moment they stepped inside, something felt off. The air was thick, the house too quiet, as if the walls were holding their breath. And then there was the staircase. It was built against a solid wall leading upward, but stopping abruptly at the ceiling. No door, no attic, no explanation. A staircase to nowhere. They assumed it was an unfinished project, something left behind by a previous owner. But deep down, Julian knew that staircase wasn't meant to be there. The first incident, they ignored it at first, covering the entrance with a bookshelf. But the house didn't let them forget. At night, they heard creaks from the stairs. Not random settling noises, but footsteps. 1 step, 2 steps, 3, always stopping before reaching the top. One evening, Mara called out from the living room, "Julian, did you move the bookshelf?" He frowned. "No." She pointed. The bookshelf was tilted slightly as if something had been pushing against it. A cold dread settled in Julian's stomach. Something wanted them to see the staircase. The woman at the top. A week later, their friend Leo came over for drinks. After a few beers, he noticed the odd angle of the bookshelf. "What's behind there?" he asked. Julian hesitated. "Nothing, just an old staircase." Leo grinned. "Well, now I have to see it." Before they could stop him, Leo pushed the bookshelf aside and stepped onto the staircase. He climbed. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Then he froze. His body went rigid, his breath catching in his throat. His eyes widened in terror. Julian and Mara ran forward. "Leo, what is it?" Leo's face was pale, his hands shaking. There's a woman at the top." Julian followed his gaze. There was nothing but the ceiling. Leo stumbled backwards, gasping. I swear to God, she was staring at me. Her face was wrong. That night, Leo refused to sleep alone, but by morning he had no memory of what he saw. The sleepwalking. After that, things got worse. Julian started waking up in strange places. The couch. The hallway. Once, he woke up at the foot of the staircase. His bare feet were covered in dust, as if he had been climbing in his sleep. And the worst part? Mara found handprints on his ankles, as if something had been pulling him up. The man who lived there before. Desperate, Julian tracked down the house's previous owner, an old man named Richard Beckett. The moment Julian mentioned the staircase, the old man tensed. "You've seen it, haven't you?" Julian swallowed hard. "Yes." Richard's voice dropped to a whisper. "Has anyone climbed it?" Julian hesitated. "Your friend did." The old man shuddered. "She lets you see her at first, but she doesn't take strangers. She takes the ones who live there." Julian's blood ran cold. "What happens if you reach the top?" Richard's eyes glazed over, his voice distant. "You don't come back." The final night. That night, Julian forced Mara to leave. He stayed behind. The house wasn't letting him go, and he needed to end this. Armed with a flashlight, he pushed the bookshelf aside, revealing the staircase to nowhere. The moment he stepped onto the first step, the air changed. It became thicker, stagnant. The house felt alive. Julian climbed. 1 step, 2, 3. The higher he went, the harder it became to breathe. By the 8th step, the walls felt closer, like they were squeezing inward. And then he saw her, the woman standing at the top. No door, no attic, Just her. Her limbs were too long, her face too blurred, shifting like a smudged painting. And then she moved, downward, toward him. Julian's body locked up. The air pressed against him, heavy as stone. A voice whispered in his ear. Came closer. Something grabbed his wrist. He screamed, twisting away, falling backward down the stairs. The moment he hit the ground, the house went silent. The air felt normal again. When he looked up, the staircase was gone. The house that wouldn't let go. Julian and Mara moved out immediately. They never looked back. And sometimes, late at night, Julian wakes up gasping, his feet covered in dust, as if he had been sleepwalking again, as if the staircase was still there, waiting. Some places have histories, some places have secrets, and some should have never been built. If you ever see a staircase leading nowhere, don't climb it, because if you do, you may never come back.